Spin your passion into a business with Shopify and break sales records with the world's best converting checkout. Let's hear that one more time. The world's best converting checkout. Shopify's legendary checkout makes it easier for customers to shop on your website, across social media, and everywhere in between. Now that's music to your ears. Any way you spin it, you can be a smash hit with Shopify. Start your $1 a month trial today at shopify.com/records.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
And here we are. It's been a little minute. We've just been busy with a lot of stuff. We've been doing film weeks and Oscar stuff, and
it's that time of the year.
It's we're recording this now. Actually, it is March 1st, and this will probably go up March 2nd, and then on March 3rd, Tim and I will be on stage at the Orpheum Theater in Los Angeles with the rest of our Film Week colleagues doing our annual LAist Film Week Oscar preview show, and then in a little over a week, the big awards will be handed out. So without spilling any of your good stuff for Sunday, Tim, what are your feelings about this year's Oscars?
Well, we're back to big movies, aren't we? I mean, and I know there's some interesting indies nominated in American fiction, this, that, and the other thing, but we're basically back to big movies. Some people would say, no, that happened last year. No, not like this year. Billion-dollar box office movies, Martin Scorsese films, as big as movies can get are what we're back to this year.
So I've got a new Substack, by the way. For anybody who's listening, come on over and sign up for the Substack. You can do the unpaid to start. Read what I'm doing, and then sign up for paid if you want. But it is Hollywood Heretic. So go to hollywoodheretic.substack.com.
Yes.
hollywoodheretic.substack.com. I did a two-part piece over there where I have developed a new metric. I call it the NIT scale, the NIT rating, NITT, for nominees in top 10. And here's how my grading works. And I did this specifically to analyze this year. If you look at every year, the top nominated films and then the top grossing films, if there is a top 10 film, a top 10 grossing film that is nominated for Best Picture, you assign 1 point. And if at the end of the Oscars, the film which won Best Picture is also a top 10 nominated, or top 10 grossing film, you assign 2 points. And if the top grossing film of the year, the number 1 grossing film of the year, is also a nominated film, but without winning, you assign 2 points. If the number 1 grossing film of the year actually wins Best Picture, then you assign 5 points. So for a traditional field of 5, you max out at 10 points. So anyway, I did this to sort of analyze all the Oscar years, and you can see everything fall off a cliff around about 1991, 1992, right? Indies come in, and my NIT ratings collapse. But the NIT rating right now for this year, because of Oppenheimer and Barbie, is off the chart. It's the highest that it's been since 1997 with Titanic, which is way off the chart. And here's a more interesting little nerdy tidbit, because I was sitting there the other day. This is what, other people will like go to bed, or they'll drink, or they'll do some other thing. I sit there and I look at movie data because I'm an idiot. So this is what I'm like, I gotta figure there's something here. Because Barbie was the number 1 movie of the year, Oppenheimer the number 3. Oppenheimer, the number 1 film in terms of nominations, Barbie number 4.
Mm.
Both of them are top 5 for grossing and top 5 for nominations.
Mm.
The last time that happened was 1991. The last time it happened where it included the number 1 grossing film and the number 1 nominated film was Kramer versus Kramer in 1979.
Oh, okay.
So this is where we are. We're in a really interesting place. I mean, it could just be a one-off, but I don't feel like it is. I feel like we're turning the corner on something here.
The just being that popular movies that make a whole lot of money at the box office are likely both nominees and winners of major Academy Awards. I mean, did I just get that right?
That's it. Where because it used to be, and I go into the details there because I went back and looked and I compared the top grossers to the top to the Oscar nominees, and I mean you have years where it's like 4 or all 5 of the Best Picture nominees are top 10 films, and some of them are like 1962 is unreal. Lawrence of Arabia was the number 2 film of the year. It won Best Picture, but the films it beat included number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 6.
So in terms of box office gross,
box office, like 5 of the top 6 grossing films of the year became the Best Picture nominees. That's when people watch it on TV. You're like, son of a gun, look, I went and saw all of these. I'm going to see these on TV.
Yeah, and thus we have a situation again where, at least Barbie and Oppenheimer, and very possibly to some extent Killers of the Flower Moon, which still actually did well at the box office, and are big movies with major movie stars and major directors. You might even toss Maestro in there. So you have really perhaps at least 4 pictures that lots and lots and lots of people have seen, and certainly of the top 2, that 1 and that 4, that box office. Who's that number 2 in that box office?
From this last year? Oh boy, hold on. Right behind Barbie, I want to say it was. Was the animated
Spider-Verse? Was that Spider-Verse movie?
It might have been the Spider-Verse, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Which is, of course, nominated in the animated category. Interesting, okay. Yeah.
Or Mario Brothers. I can't remember. Anyway, it was something blockbustery, but we're all kind of focused on Barbie and Oppenheimer, and it's Barbenheimer all over again at the Oscars, right? It's fascinating. So yeah, I mean it definitely feels like a turning point. We'll see. This year has a lot of interesting stuff happening. Dune getting out of the way in November and December, I think, is the best Christmas gift that Oppenheimer could have had.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Dune would have given Oppenheimer a real run for its money, at least in tech categories. But I think now it looks like it's just wide open Oppenheimer.
Well, yeah. Look, a lot of things. You had a shot there for a while. Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, as we say, as time has ticked on. I think it has sort of wound down to those 2 big films in terms of that Best Picture category, anyway. Best Director, I suppose probably Chris has a fairly large lock on that. But then again, Greta's not nominated. I just want to look. Yeah, so there you go. So look, if she were nominated now, then I don't believe that he would have a lock, because one, if she were nominated, it would suggest that the Academy thinks that it's worthy. But given that she's not nominated, I think he does have a lock. So a lot of times people would be talking about Scorsese, but not a lock this year for him, for sure.
It's like Nolan is. It feels like this is like he's due, right? This is his Schindler's List moment. This is the one. We're going to give it to him for this one, because if not this one, then which? And it's his most serious film. It's his highest grossing film. And I think people want to reward him for this in hopes that he makes more of these and fewer films like, Tenet and freaking, all the puzzly, weird, sci-fi things. This is like a more grown up version of Christopher Nolan. I think this is where everybody wants him to live from here on out.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's going to be a real interesting year. Well, anyway, if you're in LA and there's still tickets, come on down to the Orpheum on Sunday. What is it? 1 o'clock that we go on stage?
Yeah, 1 o'clock when we hit the stage. Yeah.
All right, 1 o'clock. It's going to be great. It's going to be terrific. We're all gonna make fun of each other, and we all get along. We do get along.
We have fun,
even though Charles and Justin get into it. The funny thing is when Charles and Justin are on opposite ends, and all the rest of us are in the middle.
Yeah,
kind of looking left or right, and say something nasty, and Justin will smile, and you're like, "Gosh, guys, I'm going to get whiplash if you keep." I think they seat us that way on purpose. I really do.
It'll be interesting. Justin and I might have an interesting moment because Justin's not a particular fan of American fiction, of which I am a very big fan.
He is not really. Justin's not
not a particular fan of American fiction. So he has a piece. He talks about it, and I think I have an interesting reply to that. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I'm dying to hear that because I love American fiction.
Yeah,
I love everything about that movie. I mean, it doesn't have a shot, but it's what I love about it is it won the Toronto Film Festival Audience Award. It got its Best Picture nomination. Cord Jefferson, first time writer director of a feature, long time TV writer, but it puts him right now. He's in the mix. Right now, his career is off to the races. Jeffrey Wright won Best Actor at the Spirit Awards. So it's rewarding a lot of the right people, and I'm just glad that I'm glad anytime there's a writer director of Cord Jefferson's talent who gets it is now thrown into the mix. So now we've got another one of those hyphenate threats who's going to make more great movies, and people are going to give him money, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree completely. Cord, because of the way that it's all shaped, Cord, one of 5 directors in that direction, so he's not nominated. Now, it was funny, I had this conversation with Alanis. We were on the show today when they is anybody been snubbed? Cord, not snubbed. No. Movie nominated, he's not. A screenplay nomination, perfectly correct. Best director nomination, no, and not a snub. It absolutely isn't a snub. Now, I'm not a big fan of the notion of snubs to begin with.
Not either.
Sometimes, you're just not nominated. That's all it is.
Somebody's got to come in 6th.
It's just not nominated. That's all that was. But you weren't snubbed. I'm not sure about Greta. Maybe it might have been snubbed. But I think,
here's why. I think people look at films. I mean, something has to come in 6th, right? Not everything can be top 5. But I think people look at a film like American Fiction and they think, well, it's a writer's piece. Right? It's like a lot of Woody Allen movies. Woody is almost always gets nominated for writing them, not necessarily for directing, because Woody is seen as more a writer. He directs these screenplays, but the core part of the film is the writing. It's not like a Christopher Nolan film where it's the direction. And I think if they look at something like Barbie and they say, well, that's a producer's piece. Right? That's where that movie really came together, was in the producing of it. So let's give Margot and let's give Greta the screenplay, and let's give Margot the producing, and it's not really a great directed movie. It's not really a great acted movie, but we'll give them the other pieces. I think they compartmentalize, and we can disagree with that, but I think Academy voters compartmentalize those things. Is this a producer's piece? Is this a writer's piece? Is this an actor's piece? Is this a director's piece? And that's where I think they sometimes come down in those compartmentalizations.
Absolutely, man.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's just talk about some people who kicked off for us. Not a ton in the last few weeks, but we did lose Don Murray, legendary old time. I didn't even realize Don Murray was still with us, to be honest. It's one of those where you're like, holy cow, really?
94 years old, dude.
Yeah.
Bus stop, of course, opposite Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Both of them ridiculously young and beautiful. Yeah. And then, of course, the next time I really think about Don Murray is when he plays that dad in Endless Love. With young Brooke Shields. He plays her dad in that movie, and a few other things. But around a long time, Don Murray, a stalwart guy.
Yeah. And I don't know. Did we mention that Glynis Johns had passed away? Did we?
I do not remember. No, I don't think we did.
Because Glynis Johns died on just right after the first of the year, on January 4th. She was 100 years old. The wonderful Glynis Johns, who was, of course, Mrs. Banks and Mary Poppins, but made so many other wonderful British films. She was 100. She was in a rest home in Northridge, man, not too far from you.
Yeah. No,
you could have popped in and seen her.
She was saucy. If she could be very saucy, we think about
those older parts, and
yeah. So
mermaid, and
sometimes we forget, and we get to know these people as older performers, and we forget. Whoa, they had a little heat going back in the day.
And then we lost Carl Weathers. Which, that's a tough one. I thought we'd have him for a good long time, and that really just broke my heart.
And a lot of it just had to do with his physical presence, that stature in The Mandalorian. Most recently, he was just solid as a rock, and I'm thinking, I think Carl could take me.
I saw Carl Weathers once. Walking into CVS Pharmacy in Pacific Palisades. And, I was on the sidewalk and he parked and got out of his car. I felt so small and just weak. He must have been 60 at the time, right? And didn't look it. He was just like the physique. And this is the thing. You have got to be a confident man to wear those yoga pants. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he was wearing. He was basically wearing those tight-fitting yoga pants, which no man would be caught dead in unless you are Carl Weathers and you can pull that off.
Yeah.
He had the legs and the glutes and the muscle and the arms and the whole thing, and he was such an impressive physical specimen. And that's the only time I ever interfaced with him physically. I didn't even talk to him or anything. I was like, holy cow, it's Carl Weathers. It's like, and you just kind of take it back for a moment and looking at the yoga pants. I'm like, you pull it off. You pull that off, brother.
Hey, all them squats getting ready for Predator back there in the 80s. And then, of course, Carl had that really lovely, in association, mostly with Adam Sandler and the Farley Brothers, and that little comedy twist to his career, which I just thought was great. With that hand, the guy with the alligator ate my hand. That's just a little great twist to his career. And then, some late career money on The Mandalorian. That's a lot of love right there.
That is. And, even something like Action Jackson, which caught a lot of flack, right?
Yeah.
The Rocky films were obviously what really made him a star, because you had to have somebody who could hold the screen opposite Rocky. We're rooting for Rocky. So is he the villain? Well, oddly enough, he's not. That's what I think makes Rocky and Rocky 2 and Rocky 3 and 4 such interesting movies, is because their relationship is complicated. So he's not Darth Vader to Rocky's Luke Skywalker.
No.
He is the world heavyweight champion in Rocky.
Beloved.
He is beloved, and he has earned that. And Rocky is just a schlubby pretender. And, spoiler here for anybody who hasn't seen Rocky. It's 50 years old, so I hope you have. But Rocky doesn't win. Yeah. Rocky survives. And you do have to give props to Weathers, because he won. Right? He did his job. This is why he's heavyweight champion in there. And Apollo Creed is a beloved character, even though he's technically an antagonist. That is a weird, tough, complicated place to put an actor. Yeah. And to bring him back for 4 straight films, it's quite a thing. And he lives on, obviously, in the Creed films.
I was going to say, he pulls it off so beautifully that just the name of the character is heroic enough to spawn an entire, the word Creed. So it's really, good work, Carl.
It was an amazing career, and I'm so sorry that he's gone. He will be terribly missed. Started as an athlete. He was a football player originally.
Yeah.
Followed in the footsteps of,
Jim Brown.
Who started all that, and we talked about that some months ago on the show. So, and then lastly, just within the past day, we lost Richard Lewis.
Yep.
He was not necessarily everybody's cup of tea as a comic, because he was so angst-ridden. I know a lot of people that they couldn't watch him when he'd show up on the Tonight Show. It was too much. It was like his anxiety was not funny to them. It made them anxious, so they had to turn it off, because all he would do was come on and go, I don't know, I I can't get a date, and he just started complaining about everything. And
the thing with the head, with the hair, the head, and my hair.
But it was, he came from that amazing generation of comics. We were just talking about this before the show. They come after, obviously, the Pryors and the Carlins, and even before them, the great original comics from the 50s who were on TV. But it's Richard Lewis, it's Gary Shandling, Jay Leno, Jerry Seinfeld. That's the class of comics that came out of that. Joan Rivers, even from that group. It's a really, really interesting class of comics. They carried on a great tradition, but they also kind of gave their own modern spin to it. And Lewis had a really, really fascinating career, both as a stand-up and an actor. And I'm really sorry that he's gone prematurely. I know he was just shy of 80, but I felt like he had another 10 years in him.
No, yeah. Look, late bump in his career from all those appearances on Curb Your Enthusiasm opposite Larry David. When you talk about intense and hard to watch, the shtick that Larry does.
Oh my gosh!
And the shtick that Richard, and when they were in a scene together, it's almost like it's like, and he did have some real good acting chops. I remember.
He did. Yes, he did.
Being particularly good in Leaving Las Vegas. A couple of scenes, just a couple of scenes. But in this dramatic film, he's very dramatic. He's just excellent at that. And of course, that long run on a really good, but sometimes forgotten sitcom, Anything But Love, opposite, I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis, if I'm not mistaken. The show ran for 4 or 5 years. It was I don't see that sitcom very much out there. It was really sexy and really smart. And he looked great on that show. I had no idea that he was like almost 15 years older than Jamie Lee Curtis on that show. So, Richard Lewis, excellent work and a great legacy.
Well, so on that note, let's shift it to some DVDs and Blu-rays.
Yeah, man.
And a lot of other things. Join me on Hollywood Heretic over at Substack, hollywoodheretic.substack.com.
Got to do it.
Read my stuff. I'm having fun over there. So I'm going to go through some Classic Flicks titles here. Classic Flicks is doing a lot of really great stuff. And these are movies that you're just not going to find anywhere else. Their Silver series continues to just dig up some really, really terrific films. Volumes 24, 25, and 26 here. And 24 and 25 are kind of lost romantic comedies from a pretty great period. Both of them starring Joan Bennett. And they kind of break these into series. So this is the Silver series with March and Bennett. And that's Frederick March and Joan Bennett. And the film is Trade Winds. And it was made in 1938, kind of a classic. It's almost more of a 1940s style film, but it is just an absolutely lovely romantic comedy in the Tracy Hepburn mold, except it just doesn't have Tracy and Hepburn in it. It's got a different pair. But Frederick March, great Oscar-winning actor, and Joan Bennett, just absolutely lovely. Joan Bennett plays a socialite, and Frederick March is this private eye, this very, very funny private eye, and there's a whole kind of a wacky noir surveillance thing kind of going on, and meet cute, and it's very, very clever. It's very, very sweet.
Dorothy Parker is one of the writers, and Ralph Belling is walking around that film too.
Dorothy Parker was one of the writers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the great Dorothy Parker. And then we also have Joan Bennett in Vogues of 1938, made the year before in 1937, so it could be released in 1938. And in this one, this is part of the Baxter and Bennett series. Baxter being Warner Baxter, who is absolutely lovely here, and he plays a fashion designer, and she plays a debutante, and It's got all the usual kind of highbrow society stuff, farce, and it's quite clever and very fun. So Vogues of 1938. And then also in the Silver series, volume 26 is a film that I have loved my whole life, Powell and Dunn, Life with Father, and that is Irene Dunn and William Powell, and this is a delightful movie made in 1947, based on a play, and set in the kind of like I think it's the early, just after the turn of the century. It's a little bit of a period thing, but it's just William Powell is father of this family that just will not behave the way he wants them to behave. The kids drive him crazy. His wife drives him crazy. The line in the film, every time something goes wrong, he goes, "Gods!" And that's William Powell. But it's very, very sweet. It's directed by Michael Curtiz, one of the lighter films that he did. Great from Max Steiner. It's just a delightful film, and it's in beautiful color, that 1947 Technicolor, and they've done a great job with it. I wish it were on Blu-ray, but it's on DVD.
Ridiculously young Liz Taylor. She's so young, so young, so cute.
Yeah, and she's just a doll in this thing. And then Classic Flicks has a bunch of great Blu-rays. I'll go through these as rapidly as I can because we have a lot to get to. The Abbott Costello Show, Season 2. We've already released Season 1 from Classic Flicks. Now Season 2 is out on Blu-ray. Looks terrific. Best it's ever looked. It's only been on DVD before. This is the first time ever on Blu-ray. You got to get this. It's just terrific. Restored by the 3D Film Archive. Aired originally in 1953 and 54. Tons of great guest stars on here. It'll really, really take you back. And why I'm especially enjoying this, and I've got to get my daughter watching these because we you know this because I mentioned it to you and Mark and Ray in email because all of my daughter's friends at school, they all watch YouTube Shorts, and I will slit my wrists before I let my daughter get caught up in some kind of social media internet garbage. So we got her hooked on I Love Lucy. Tim, she comes home from school. We're probably bad parents for allowing this. She will watch 5 straight hours of I Love Lucy on Pluto.
You gotta love it.
For 5 straight hours. She will. From the time she gets home until the time she goes to bed, she will watch Lucy. We have dinner, Lucy's on. And not only that, she now knows, I kid you not, the episode order.
I gotta love it.
Somehow my savant daughter has memorized the episode of 6 seasons of I Love Lucy.
You gotta love it.
She'll sit there and she'll go, okay, the next one is the one with John Wayne. We're like, how do you know that?
How do you know who John Wayne is?
So this is the beautiful thing. Thanks to this show, my 11-year-old daughter knows who John Wayne is.
Yeah.
She knows who Rock Hudson is.
Yeah.
She knows all these celebrities.
Charles Boyer and all.
Charles Boyer. Oh, she loves
Orson Welles
episode. She loves the Orson Welles episode. She knows who else? What other guest stars were there on there? Harpo Marx, right? Harpo Marx. It's fantastic. She knows.
You'll have to show her.
Richard Widmark. My daughter knows who Richard Widmark is. How exciting that is to me.
You'll have to show her Richard Crenna.
We have,
but you'll have to show her him.
Lovers.
Yeah, like that's that guy. But then show her Richard Crenna. This is him when he's 63. This is what happens.
And because there's the episode from the very last season where they've moved to Connecticut and Barbara Eden, a 4-year-old Barbara Eden shows up and all the men want to dance with her. It's a thing, and she is just so beautiful. And I'm using that to migrate her over to I Dream of Jeannie to say on another show. About a decade later, I Dream of Jeannie, and you really need to watch those too. Well, let's get you onto another show. And by the way, she's still alive.
Yeah, that's 90. I'm dreading that. Well, I'm dreading that.
No, show. You and I will sit here and we will cry for an hour and a half.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh well. So also Blue from Classic Flicks. Loretta Young, Cause for Alarm from MGM. Pretty great little kind of oftentimes overlooked film. Loretta Young never really gets the credit she's due. This is from 1951. It's super short, hour and 15 minutes long. This is one of those kind of post World War II melodramas, quasi noir. Anyway, it's I'm not going to give anything away. It's a little kind of Double Indemnity-esque, a little bit. But it's a nice little gem from the period and feels a little bit more like a 40s film. And it was actually co-written and produced by Tom Lewis, who was actually married to Loretta Young at the time, and would later produce Loretta Young's show. So, there's a nice little bit of trivia to that one. And then also still from classic flicks, we've got Blonde Ice. Absolutely terrific noir. I love this film. It's not one of the more famous noirs, but it is one of my favorites. Leslie Brooks, Michael Whalen, Robert Page, really good, just kind of tough ice queen kind of thing, directed by Jack Bernhardt. From 1948, also about an hour and 15 minutes long. Really, really terrific. Recently restored from the original elements and preserved by the BFI National Archive. Really, really terrific. One of the great unsung noirs of the time. Great lead performance. And then also the great Our Town. By the way, William Holden. That's another one that my daughter knows. She knows William Holden from I Love Lucy. And a very young William Holden in Our Town, along with Martha Scott. Not a typical William Holden performance, but this was directed by Sam Wood. Beautifully done. Production design by the great William Cameron Menzies, 1940. And, the legendary Thornton Wilder play done in great fashion as a movie absolutely belongs in your Blu-ray library. This is just a beautiful all-American stage classic done as a beautiful movie. Yeah. And then lastly, David Farrar and Geraldine Fitzgerald in Obsessed, which is a 1951 thriller. It's not a noir, it's more of a thriller because it's kind of a period thing. It has a certain Hitchcockian quality to it, and a little bit kind of dark and Jane Eyre-ish in some respects. This is based on a stage play called Late Edwina Black. And that was originally, I guess, the title of the film when it was released in the UK. What is really, really funny about this to me, and it's got a lot of, great, the script is really terrific, really just eerie twists and turns, kind of like, Rebecca-esque, Jane Eyre-esque. But at the time, they include the original poster art on this, and it includes a little label that says, this is, remember, we're, the Hays Code era. There's no rating system. There's a little red bullet point on the cover that says, not suitable for children. And I didn't know that they actually had done that at that time in the Hays Code era. I thought everything had to be suitable for children. Oh, no, not this one. Obsessed, not suitable for children. So that's all from Classic Flicks. Flix, classicflix.com. Wonderful label. Love those guys. And then a few others, little off titles here that we've had for a minute, and I want to get through some of these. The 70th anniversary restoration in 3D, Robot Monster. This is such a bizarre, weird, horrible movie, and it has 2 hours of bonus features that are actually significantly better than the film, because the film is pretty terrible. This is from Bayview Entertainment, but it doesn't matter. The film is like a guilty pleasure. It's terrible in an absolutely wonderful way. This is just one of those cheesy, sci-fi movies, bad alien monster suits and all the rest. A Robot Monster. It's just absolutely hilarious. It's like, okay, we got a gorilla suit and we got an alien helmet. What are we going to do with it? Put them together.
Don't you hate it when a robot monster falls in love with the last hot chick on the planet?
It's great.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, my gosh. The Johnstown Flood from my good friend Robert Harris at the Film Preserve, who restored this. This is a great film. Maltese Filmworks and the Film Preserve put this together for George Eastman Museum, and this is a rather extraordinary kind of a lost film with Janet Gaynor in it from 1926, a silent, like a late silent, just before sound. But it's all about the 1889 flood where a couple thousand people died. I mean, we forget. This is one of those tragedies that we've sort of forgotten about.
Oh, yeah, Pennsylvania, yeah.
Yeah, it was gnarly. And this is really kind of an extraordinary, all the tinting restored, really kind of an extraordinary film with remarkable special effects for its day. And, it's very, very sophisticated. So this is a great silent, kind of not always on everybody's lips when you think of great silent films, but it's got a lot of terrific extras on here. The original score reorchestrated and performed by the Mont Aldo Motion Picture Orchestra. There's beautiful audio for that. And a great featurette with sound designer Ben Burt, Academy Award-winning Ben Burt, and VFX artist Craig Barron talking about all the things that make this film great. The Johnstown Flood, really worth checking out. A Bullet for Sandoval with Ernest Borgnine and George Hilton. Also, not a great film, but a great exploitation classic because Ernest Borgnine just chews the scenery like it's a hamburger.
Yeah, man.
He goes to town. This is from 1970. Great widescreen kind of, it's kind of a spaghetti western, basically. But I know we don't think of spaghetti westerns with Ernest Borgnine, but it is. It's a spaghetti western with Ernest Borgnine. And boy, he is out of control, and it's all like a Mexican border thing. But
it's family drama, yeah,
it's silly, but just watch it for Ernest, and remember that he was married to that absolutely dazzling wife. 10th anniversary of Sharknado on DVD. I should have gotten David Latt to come in and talk to us about this because he's always on my Facebook page. Kind of anytime there's anything that he can use to pimp his association with Sharknado. This is my friend David Latt, who I've met for years. He's one of the founders of the Asylum, who make the Sharknado movies. And anytime you've met him, he's a great guy.
Oh yes.
Anytime he can sort of pimp his association with like, let's say I say something like, "Oh, I think there are sharks out today," weigh in with a comment with some kind of little twinkle in his eye. It's like, oh. Is there a tornado? So anyway, lots of stuff in here. They say here's the thing here. It says fully remastered with hundreds of new special effects. Hysterical.
I love it. Beautiful.
They don't take themselves seriously at all. So anyway, there's director's commentary on there as well. The Jane Campion film In the Cut, not one of my favorite Jane Campion films, right? Meg Ryan takes her top off. That's all I remember about this. Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Jason Leigh. This is the unrated version of In the Cut.
Oh, there could be an unrated version?
I don't. Anyway.
How's that possible?
I love Jane Campion. Don't love this film, but I'm just letting you know. It's out there on Blu-ray from Mill Creek. It is kind of it's Jane Campion trying to do kind of a noir thing, but it doesn't really work. Dude, did you ever see McBain with Christopher Walken, Maria Conchita Alonso?
Did I see McBain? About 91, early 90s movie, right? I'm almost certain I saw that movie.
It's 1991.
Yes. Yeah, I know that.
This is one of those James Glickenhaus movies, right?
Yeah.
James Glickenhaus, director who just directed a lot of cheesy action stuff in the 90s, especially late 80s, early 90s. If you went to the American film market, you would just see James Glickenhaus everywhere at that time. You'd be like, holy cow, how many movies does this guy make a year? But yeah, he did a lot of really bad movies, but somehow, because Christopher Walken walks into this bad movie, he kind of elevates it. He's one of those actors who just does that in a weird way.
Yeah, this movie it's in. I remember Michael Ironside is in that movie. My boy Steve James is in that movie. The brother Steve was in a lot of those Chopsaki movies like that. So I remember I remember that about it. That it was better than average for those, like you said, American film market films.
Yeah, the title character, which is Christopher Walken, he's a POW, right, who gets rescued from Vietnam by these, after the fact by these Rangers, which was a thing, right? I remember, movies about, we still got POWs there.
Chuck Norris movies with that theme.
Yeah, and there was, what was the one that played at the theater when I was there with Randall Tex Cobb? What was that? There was the other one.
I remember that.
Quest for Honor or something like that.
Yeah.
There were a lot of these movies, right? Because right into the 90s, there were people who swore, we've still got POWs there, we got to go rescue them.
Yeah,
and by 2000 we kind of figured they're probably dead. And then they started returning some remains and whatnot. But anyway, it was
see, we told you. It's like okay.
And because Walken had been in the Deer Hunter, so this had a little bit of cred. And so these Rangers go in and they rescue him, and and things kind of go a little bit sideways. But and then there's a thing in Colombia years later. It's a whole deal. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and tries to tie Vietnam to the drug lords and the whole thing. But you know what? Christopher Walken is in it, and he's just so good.
Yep.
And then the last little one-off I got here, also from Mill Creek, terrific, absolutely terrific. I'm so glad this is out again. Requiem for a Heavyweight.
Oh, wow.
And boy, does this have a heavyweight cast. Anthony Quinn, Mickey Rooney, Jackie Gleason, and Julie Harris. Produced by the great David Susskind. Directed by Ralph Nelson. And written by Rod Serling.
Yeah.
And Rod, put aside everything great that he did on Twilight Zone. When you see Rod Serling's feature writing, you realize it's just this guy had it going on. He was just a pure writer, just a pure writer. This was basically in the vein of the great live television things that had gone on throughout the 50s. It's that kind of a story, but boy, is it just really, really good. And it's all about, boxing and corruption and how it just wears you down. And boxing is a metaphor for life, basically. Jackie Gleason, just a terrific turn as the boxing manager, and Mickey Rooney is a trainer, and Anthony Quinn is just terrific, and Lee is a fight doctor. It's great.
Ralph Nelson is underrated too as a director. Lilies of the Field, number one, that one. Charlie is Ralph Nelson, and frankly, an underrated Jim Brown. Tick 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 is Ralph Nelson, and I love that movie. Tick Tick Tick.
Anthony Quinn as the washed up boxer, right? It's one of his. It's really one of his just our most earnest performances, and that's saying a lot considering how many great performances he gave. But boy, it's a wonderful movie. It's just a wonderful movie. Boy, we got new movies. We got 4Ks. Where should we turn next?
Let's pop up with some 4K, man, and see what's going on over there. I see Blood Feast at the top of that list there.
Yeah, let me yank that out here.
And a few other ones that are
a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, hold on. Hang on. Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm not as organized today as I have been in the past, but where were they? Oh, yes. Well, anyway, talk about. Hold on. Hang on. I'm gonna. There we go. Blood Feast, not the Herschel Gordon Lewis film, by the way.
Oh, not the Herschel Gordon Lewis film. That's funny because that's what it was. The 2016 film.
That's what this is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This is the this is the quasi remake, I guess. Is the only? It's not. What it shares is just like there's an Egyptian diner and the guy kills people. Like that's basically
okay.
Yeah. It's the rest of it is just much more of an elaboration on the original Herschel Gordon Lewis film, which really didn't have much of a plot. Really, that was from 1963.
No. Yeah,
and they decided to put this sucker on 4K. It's from Synapse because I guess it has an audience following.
Well, yeah, sure. You can exploit exploitation over and over and over again. So yes,
yes, you can. Yes, you can. And let me get to the next.
I don't know how close it is, but Willy's Wonderland, which is another. It's funny because people talk about Nick Cage, and they say, Nick Cage is back. I'm like, Nick Cage has been back for a while now. This is another one of those wacky Nick Cage movies. Kevin Lewis directing. Kevin Lewis is a guy that we know directs a couple of films some friends of ours made, Marcus and George and The Accursed and some other films. But this was one of the films that really put Nick Cage back on the path to where he wants to be. Nick had a really neat film out this year too called Dream Scenario, which I guess we'll be talking about in a few weeks. But among them, there's this one. He just plays this guy who's this drifter, and he gets this gig being the night janitor at this this place called Willy's Wonderland. It's kind of like a condemned, and he goes into this place, and the animatronics, these sort of animatronic thing from the 70s, from one of these kind of places that I remember from my childhood. By the way, there were lots of these places when I were a kid.
To me, this is a movie. This is so twisted and deranged. This is Nick Cage going to war with the what were those guys? La la la.
Oh yeah, the Marty Kid, the bananas.
What was Splits?
Banana Splits.
Nick Cage goes to war with the Banana Splits. That's how I describe this movie.
And it's funny, and it's really kind of neat and a lot of fun. So yeah, Willy's Wonderland.
Boy, one of these days, Nick Cage is just all he's going to do is make his money just doing Q&As at retrospectives of all of his insane filmography. It's nuts. It's a nutty filmography. What do we think about the fact that they have rebooted the Hunger Games with these prequels, the Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I thought normally I can tell you from 6 months away whether a movie is going to crash and burn or whether it will be a hit. I said, Hunger Games is over. This audience doesn't exist anymore. This thing's going to crash and burn. Nobody cares.
And you called it, baby. You called it clean and tight.
But it still made a little bit. It didn't make like original Hunger.
It didn't make Hunger Games money, and that was just that sort of lingering group of Katniss Everdeen or whatever her name is.
I guess there were more of them. It did better than I expected. I mean, obviously, it didn't do well, but it did better than I expected, and. I guess without, because I also thought without, Jennifer Lawrence, it wouldn't do well. No one would care. But apparently there is kind of that core of people who love the books, and anything with the name on it, they will rally around. So
well, you make these Coriolanus Snow, and they sort of promoted the movie in that way. They talked about the characters in the promotion of the movie, Coriolanus and all this kind of stuff. So interesting in that way. But I don't know. I still feel like the Hunger Games are over.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see if they try to do more of these, because I think this was an intended new trilogy, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're supposed to work our way back up to where we started.
Oh, my goodness. I am so glad Sam Raimi's Darkman is out now, 4K, UHD, Ultra HD 4K from Shout Factory, Shout Studios, and Scream Factory. This is one of those superhero movies before the superhero movie craze really came on. Yeah. And I think Liam Neeson is great as this weird quasi superhero Darkman character. Frances McDormand, we forget, is also in this. It's Danny Elfman wrote a great score. Sam Raimi directs the hell out of this thing. It's a kind of a wild movie with some very odd humor in it. Dark humor.
I did the junket for this movie back in 1990. It was just fantastic. Larry Drake is a fun movie.
Because he was playing Lenny on
ER. L.A. Law. Yeah.
And then he plays a heavy here, and he's so good. Yeah. No, what was the junket? Was the junket serious, or was it a little wacky?
That was because there are a lot of Raimis for one thing. Sam has a brother named Ivan, who's and he has another brother named Ted, who's actually a fairly noted actor in shows.
Ted was on Sequest. He was on the cast.
That's right.
Sequest.
That's right. Yeah, so there were like Raimis everywhere. It's one of those families, there's a lot of fun.
Well, anyways, a lot of stuff on this. The 4K is on one disc, and then they got a Blu-ray here with just gobs and gobs of extras, interviews and featurettes and stuff on the makeup and production design, and on and on and on and on, stills and artwork, and it's really amazing. I mean, there's just you learn way too much about this movie. And then this is interesting to me because this is the latest in the Trolls movies, the third one, Trolls Band Together, the sing-along edition. So my daughter is also obsessed with Disney films and Pixar films, as you might imagine. Yeah. Being so obsessive that she would memorize every episode in order of I Dream of I Love Lucy. Yeah. She also, over the last 6 months or so, set herself the goal of watching every single Walt Disney Studios animated film in order. Okay, all the way, because she saw Wish, the most recent one.
Yeah.
So she has seen, obviously, a lot of all the princess movies, starting with Snow White, but there are a bunch that she hadn't seen. Fantasia, Fantasia 2000. So she watched the rest of them, which is a whole ton, and then she watched all the Pixars that she's never seen. She's now seen more Disney and Pixar movies than I have. It's
she's got about that's the other thing. That's 20 years worth of movies.
Oh, it's a lot. And now all her friends are nagging her. Well, you haven't seen any DreamWorks animated films, and you haven't seen all of the Blue Sky animated films, and you haven't seen on and on and on and on. Right? They're giving her the business. And the Trolls movies are movies that her friends have seen and that she has not. So she made me watch the original Trolls the other day. Tell her if it was any good, if it was worth her watching. This is what I do now. This is what I'm resigned to. And this is DreamWorks for Universal. Yeah. And so I went and watched the original Trolls, utterly dreading the prospect of it. You know what? It's cute.
Oh, the first Trolls is actually good. It's actually a lot of fun. This one is less fun. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So the troll thing overstays its welcome, and it really is all about the songs. That's why it's a sing-along. But this has, deleted scenes and hug time bracelet instructions and the original short called It Takes Three. 14 songs here with sing-along stuff in them. It's fine. It's fine. It's Trolls. I mean, I guess if you've seen the first two, you can suffer your way through this one. It's like the Shrek films, right? The first two are great, and then it just.
Well, you know what it is for me, and maybe it has to do with it. They're a little. This one anyway, it's a little too kinetic for me. It never stops.
Yeah, you're right.
It never stops talking. It never stops singing. The music. It just never stops. There's never a moment, where So but this.
Yeah, the assumption is that every child has ADD and must be entertained for every single second, or else they'll want to leave. And then we got a couple of 4K steelbooks here. Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earth, Part 1, the animated telling of this, not the one from the Arrowverse. Yeah. And this is actually better, believe it or not. It's a better telling of it. But this is a famous comic book narrative, and they've now done the animated version of it. And it's not bad. I mean, I think they've tweaked the characters a little bit too much to be like the way they are in live action movies here. But that being said, I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed having Martian Manhunter and a whole bunch of other characters in here that we didn't have before.
I like her voices too. I love Matt Bomer's. He's the Flash in this. Yeah. Darren Criss plays Superman. He does the voice of Superman in this, and even Zachary Quinto is doing Lex Luthor, of course, which is extremely appropriate. So yeah, really cool.
And then the last one here on the 4K front is a 40th anniversary. Oh man, 40th anniversary! I can't believe
Footloose. Oh my goodness,
Footloose! First time on 4K Steelbook. Kevin Bacon has not aged a day since.
No.
He looks more or less the same age. So this was one of those movies that I saw arguably, I don't know, about 170 times because I was working at the National Theater when it played.
Yeah.
And so I saw it or heard it every single day, multiple times. And I hated it then. And I in a strange way, like with Top Gun, I have grown to like it because it's nostalgia for me now.
It's nostalgia. I got to tell you, I liked it on the day back then. I rather enjoyed this movie. That Kenny Loggins, and I'm this Midwest guy, in St. Louis. So watching, the story that's sort of like set in something that looks like my hometown, and sort of feels like that Southern Bible Belt where I grew up, where some of this stuff was actually real. While I was going up that edge of them towns, I'm like, oh no, this is real as hell. I know some of those towns. And then there are all these people that are in this movie, dude, that I just, when I think about them, and yes, Kevin, but you got Laurie Singer and Diane Weiss and John Lithgow and Sarah Jessica Parker's in this movie. I forgot Sarah Jessica was in this movie. Your boy,
Chris Penn.
Young, beautiful Chris Penn doing that little dance, in that movie. Let's hear it for the boy. It's just, I think about that, and it definitely.
And what's so great? So Herbert Ross, who directed the film, and I remember in film school, Howard Suber Howard Suber, who just my old professor in Howard Suber, who just starred in this whole series of The Power of Film based on his book on TCM. If you saw it, it's going to come. They're going to air it again. Watch it again. You'll know what it was like to be in class with Howard Suber. Howard Suber used to say to us, "You're overlooking a major part of the director's style if you don't notice that Herbert Ross, when he directs, he edits to the beat of the music." Which a lot of directors don't, kind of a precursor of music videos that way. And Herbert Ross started as a choreographer. He was the choreographer in Funny Girl, and then he was elevated to director of Funny Lady with James Caan and Barbra Streisand. And then he did The Turning Point, which became, at the time, the most nominated Academy Award film to not win a single award. It was like nominated for 12 or something like that and won nothing. And would go on to do things like Footloose. And when you watch it, that it is because he loves using the music, the songs, those musical numbers. He has a choreographer's instinct for the editing, even if there's not a lot of dancing. But then the dancing stuff is great. It really is. So that's Footloose, and what a fun kind of bit of nostalgia it is now, especially considering that the remake was such a dog.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was terrible. But a lot of nostalgic bits here too on the second disc, which has special features on it. They have Kevin Bacon kind of looking back on it. There's a commentary with Kevin Bacon, another commentary with Craig Zahn and Dean Pitchford, and an interview with Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah, so fun stuff for especially for people our age who. We just have a few things for TV. One of which is the complete Gomer Pyle.
Oh, wow.
The complete Gomer Pyle finally on Blu-ray, which is a bit of a big deal. And it looks terrific on Blu-ray. But you know what? It's funny, Tim. I've been watching some of these things again. Now, this was, everyone knows, you and I often joke about this because like we know this trivia. Like Gomer Pyle, who's Gomer Pyle's cousin?
Goober. Of course. Spinoffs out of I guess was it out of the Andy Griffith Show or maybe the spinoff, right?
It was out of that show,
Gomer Pyle, United States. The thing about this show, Gomer Pyle's show, funny sitcom, absolutely, but this was an extremely poignant show.
See, I was just going to say that. Carry on.
It had dramatic touches that included not only Gomer, but the Sarge and other characters. So was it funny? Was it a sitcom? It absolutely was. But this was a very sophisticated, very poignant show that elevated Gomer. This show didn't make fun of Gomer Pyle. This show was Ted Lasso before Ted Lasso.
That is an amazing observation. That is a really amazing observation. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I'll pull one episode out in particular where there are some people who hold up a diner, and Sergeant Carter is the one who stops them with his karate chop. But then he realizes he can't be the hero because he's there with a different girl. And he doesn't want his girlfriend to know that he was stepping out on her, right? He was like doing a thing. And he's like, and so he forces Gomer to step up and go, I'm saved the day. And Gomer has to figure out how to be the hero that Sargent has ordered him to be without being dishonest and actually taking credit for it. So he has to parse his language in a very particular way. So he's not actually admitting that he's the hero, but he's still going to not disobey Sergeant Carter, right? It's this razor's edge that he's got to walk, and it's really good writing. But the bottom line there is Sergeant Carter was cheating on his girlfriend and is guilty about it.
Yeah.
And it's a really uncomfortable episode to watch for that reason. You really kind of squirm more than you laugh.
And what ultimately happens is we, the audience, Sergeant Carter, we are drawn over to Gomer's point of view.
It's fascinating.
Gomer wins in the end, and every one of those episodes, Gomer wins. It's the opposite. In the early '90s, they did these kinds of shows, what you would call lovable loser shows.
Yeah, exactly.
But they didn't do it the way Gomer Pyle did it. They didn't do it the way these shows did it. The quote unquote lovable losers from this period weren't losers. They actually won in every episode. They were always right, no matter how out of step they were with everybody else, because they were good guys, and good guys on television in 1964 to 69 when this show was on, good guys won in every episode. Yeah,
it's utterly fascinating. It's utterly fascinating. Interesting Showtime series here. Dreaming Whilst Black. Dreaming, not while, whilst, LST, the more classic way of saying it, starring Johnny Salmon as Quabena, who's a guy who he basically wants to be he's a film school grad and he wants to be a filmmaker. And it's this really interesting British comedy series that was originally a series, like I think it was a web series originally. And it made the transition from BBC British television over to here. I think there's a second season they've done, but it's a really, really interesting.
It's a little bit insecure. Issa Rae's show. Well, she did that awkward black girl show, which is the thing that she did on YouTube. Exactly. Or whatever. So it's one of those things, and then that becomes insecure, and so it lives right in that. But it's just really well executed British shows. It's full of these really, really wonderful actors, and it's one of those where you're going to go for your dreams type things.
It's funny, but it's smart.
Yeah,
it's one of those shows, and there are a number of and the British do this very, very well. It's one of those shows where you go, yeah, kind of, right. There's a little aftertaste to the joke. It's funny, and you laugh, and then you think about it. It kind of lives with you for a moment, and it's more than funny. It's a very particular kind of writing, and I quite like it. It's good. I'm looking forward to another season of it.
I've done that one too.
And then we have got Special Ops Lioness Season 1.
Zoe.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman's on this, and more.
It's one of those Taylor Sheridan, another
Nicole Kidman show up for like 19 seconds to give it a little bit of credibility. Yeah. I love that it says from the co-creator of Yellowstone.
Yeah,
that means from the creator of Yellowstone, whose name is not Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah,
That's what that means.
Look, this is one of those shows where these people
spin your passion into a business with Shopify and break sales records with the world's best converting checkout. Let's hear that one more time. The world's best converting checkout. Shopify's legendary checkout makes it easier for customers to shop on your website, across social media, and everywhere in between. Now that's music to your ears. Any way you spin it, you can be a smash hit with Shopify. Start your $1 a month trial today at shopify.com/records.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players. Pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Are all far too attractive to be doing any of the jobs.
I agree.
I love Zoe. Joe, you're beautiful. I don't believe you in that thing with that back with that gun. No. I don't believe. And I'm sorry, I just don't. And that might be, but I don't know about buying.
Yeah, but look, in fairness, Taylor Sheridan lends his name to this, and that gets it off to the races. And he doesn't otherwise have a whole lot to do with this, at least not to my understanding of it. But look, I mean, Nicole Kidman gets to kind of sit there and be a boss, and Zoe Saldana does all the stuff, and CIA, yada yada yada. We all know. I mean, it's one of those CIA shows. It's trying to be, Jack Reacher. It's trying to be what's the other one with the.
John Krasinski. That thing. Yeah,
doing all that stuff. So whatever. All right, let's see. Where do we go next? There's a Danish show, Deliver Us.
Oh, yeah.
This is Kino Lorber released this, and this is a Danish series, a crime thriller series, which I'm surprised that MHZ didn't snatch this up, because this is exactly the kind of thing that they would normally grab. But this is kind of an interesting look at a community that is completely falling apart because of crime. And because of crime that's gone unaddressed, and there's an interesting kind of psychosocial aspect to the perpetrators here and to the people in the community, and it is a dissection of it's like humanity in microcosm. At the moment when we're all supposed to just completely disintegrate, and how we respond. It's not quite like a post-apocalyptic show. It doesn't go to that place, but it does get into some really, really the ugly side of human beings when no punishment is associated with our actions. And it's a pretty bold show, and it's Danish, not for everybody's taste, but anyway. There it is. Oh, you know what? I'm just noticing this is MHZ.
It is.
At least it is released. It's I guess, new contract with Kino Lorber. It is MHZ, but they're releasing through Kino Lorber now, not their own distribution. Very interesting. So good on MHZ for not letting that one slip through. I take it back. All right. Let's see. Where do we go now?
How close are those criterions?
Oh, God.
To you. Let's take a look at some of that stuff, because I see, to be honest with you, I want to talk about Nothing But a Man, the great Ivan Dixon film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Pull that right out. Ivan. We talk about Ivan Dixon a lot because he was on Hogan's Heroes, and everybody thinks, he's the black guy on Hogan's Heroes. Yeah, but he was also a filmmaker.
Oh yeah,
very good and significant filmmaker, and a significant actor even before that. And Nothing But a Man. Boy, go with it. Robert M. Young.
Yeah, Abby Lincoln and Julia Sayers, and this is really, really powerful film. When you watch Jack Dakota, a young Jack Dakota was in this movie, and Gloria Fox, and so and Julia Sayers. It's really a very powerful drama about this brother and his wife, who's a school teacher, and what they have to deal with in the early '60s in America. And, obviously a black couple. So it speaks to the title. It's a Michael Rohmer film, of course, but Ivan Dixon is extraordinary in this movie, and it's where he began to hone his chops as a director. I spoke with Ivan, it must be 35 years ago now. I always wanted to make a doc about Ivan Dixon. Ivan Dixon was one of the first black regular directors in network television in the early 70s. Right. Regularly, if you were watching any given network television show, you were watching some of the work of Ivan Dixon, Medical Center, and just all these other big things. He was one of the first. Him and Michael Schultz is the other one. Directed The Spook Who Sat by the Door. So in any case, this is really just a really, really great film. The great Abby Lincoln, who's a singer too, of course, a wonderful singer, but also a noted dramatic actress, Abby Lincoln. So good movie.
It's a lovely Blu-ray. It's director approved by Michael Rohmer. And it has archival interviews with Ivan Dixon and Abby Lincoln and Julius Harris, and a great conversation that was recorded in 2004 between Rohmer and Robert M. Young, who, of course, would go on to be a great director in his own right, but was a co-producer and cinematographer here. And there's also an introduction to Michael Rohmer featurette on Rohmer. It is terrific. And, the thing that I really, really appreciate about Ivan Dixon is that the particular kind of actor that he was at this time. This is 1964. Yeah. And in 1964, the impulse for most was to Sidney Poitier the hell out of every single black role, right? It was like, we got to, like white guilt bubbling up, and we got every black actor has to be a credit to the race. We got to really build them up, and Sidney Poitier had all that poured on his shoulders. Meanwhile, somebody like Ivan Dixon is the beneficiary of that, because he says, I don't have that pressure, so I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
And he's incredibly real. I mean, that's the thing, is that in 1964, when most people are giving still fairly elevated melodramatic performances, he's giving something which I would almost describe as a near-realist performance.
Oh yeah. The kind of thing that Charles Burnett would go on to cull forward from folks like Morgan Freeman and To Sleep with Anger, and Abbott Costello again in this film. There was this opportunity, and that's a lot of that is Rohmer too, because Rohmer, he was all about naturalism, realism there. So outstanding.
Got another Criterion Blu-ray boxed set here. Chantal Ackerman Masterpieces, 1968 to 78. If you don't know Chantal Ackerman and why she matters, boy, this is the one you pick up. Ton of films here, and I can't get into each of them, individually. Saute ma vie, La Chambre, Hotel Monterey. The very famous Jeanne Dielman 23 Quai du Commerce 1080 Bruxelles, which has now kind of been elevated in the Sight and Sound Critics poll, and people are, I'd never heard of that movie before. Now you have. So Chantal Ackerman, just an extraordinary French director, and this is the first, basically the first 10 years of her career. And it's just this wonderful body of work that is just so naturalistic and poetic, and yet, kind of low budget and gritty. And it's like, post new wave is what it is. Very much an outgrowth of the new wave. But these are just wonderful movies. Lots of great extras in here, including film school tests by Akerman. And I just think this is a wonderful box set. It's an essential for anybody.
Yeah, the films that she did in the late 90s with the sort of American films that one would Bill Hurt and Juliette Binoche. I can't get a pop in my head in a second, but it's a part of that scene. But they're still interesting films. But they have this sort of an American style, and even a bit of a French comedic style. Something. I was saying, A Couch in New York. It's what I was looking for there, and I found it. So she had a real range. I really love Chantal Ackerman. Yeah.
Speaking of Rohmers, there's Eric Rohmer, the wonderful French New Wave poet, who did Tales of the Four Seasons, and this is a wonderful quartet of films: A Tale of Springtime, A Tale of Winter, A Tale of Summer, and A Tale of Autumn. And these are just lovely movies. They're gentle. This was a quartet of films that sort of came into life when Tim and I had just started reviewing movies. So we sort of lived this whole quartet from 1990 to 1998. And they're just beautiful. I remember seeing these things projected, and I couldn't wait until the next one. And they're just about romance. They're just about people trying to fall in love and struggling with love in each of these kinds of seasonal capsules. And they're just these beautiful, intimate character tales. And he's done this before with the 6 moral tales and comedies and proverbs. And, so this is another one of his film series where he just explores human nature, and they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. Bunch of great extras on here. All from 2K digital restorations, which is plenty because Rohmer shot, kind of grittily on film, but beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Also, vaguely references to his own life, A Tale of Summer, his own childhood, and so on and so forth. It's beautiful stuff.
And then we got some 4Ks here as well, some Criterion 4Ks. Yeah. And let's start off with Lone Star by John Sayles, which, that's just from one of the great John Sayles films from that period, from his best period. Boy, Lone Star was so good.
And gave us... What? Young Matthew McConaughey, of course.
Yeah, young Matthew McConaughey. Chris Christopherson is in there.
Chris Cooper, if I recall. But I remember Elizabeth Pena.
Pena is amazing.
She was the thing in that movie, man. She was the thing in that movie. It was just really, really great. Yeah.
She was absolutely terrific. Chris Cooper and Elizabeth Pena are the center of this film. They're the rock center of this film. Really, really wonderful movie. Just so well scripted, so well executed, and with some twists and turns you do not see coming. Yeah. I'm telling you. Stuart Dryburgh, who shot the piano for Jane Campion, also just cleans up here. It's 4K. It's absolutely terrific. Cannot say enough about it. Also, Trainspotting on 4K. You know what? Look, I love Danny Boyle. I love Ewan McGregor. I love just about everybody in this movie. I should love this movie. I don't.
It was not as
a lot of people do.
Yeah, but yeah, it had its fans back in 96, 90. Yeah, I think it was 96 or something like that when it came out. And then again, Johnny Lee Miller and Ewan, and a lot of young British guys, Kevin McKidd, sort of rose up out of this movie. Kelly MacDonald and Robert Carlyle, and these irritating junkies. These irritating junkies.
Like, I can't. I understand it's not necessarily glamorizing heroin, but I can't do heroin.
Dude, I got no use for any kind of irritating junkie. It's just my thing, but popular today.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't handle it. Also, we've got the Heroic Trio and the Executioners, the Johnnie To films that did the amazing thing during the Hong Kong New Wave period of combining Michelle Yeoh with Maggie Cheung and Anita Mui, the late Anita, the glorious Anita. If you're a Hong Kong New Wave fan, as I am, I remember when these movies came out. They're just amazing. They're basically female superhero movies. These are three women who are kind of superheroes. The Michelle Yeoh character, who's invisible, is working for the bad guy initially, but comes back to the good side, and they become a heroic trio. And in the sequel, Executioners, it's just as good. Johnnie To was not yet the gangster filmmaker that he would become, the kind of nouveau John Woo, but still a work for hire. But boy, these films are so much fun. They are so much fun. And on 4K, could not say more about them. They're wonderful. There is a new interview with Anthony Wong, the great legendary Anthony Wong, who plays he's kind of nasty in the first one. He's like the wizard's henchman, and he like eats his own fingers, and there's a whole thing with the flying guillotine. And I mean, he's a weird character. Doesn't have a line, I don't think. But anyways, a new interview with him, which is terrific. New interview with film critic Sam Dayan, who co-hosts the podcast Twitch of the Death Nerve, and it's terrific. I just love those movies. We also have Warren Beatty and Julie Christie, K of McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
Boy, I mean, does this hold up, Tim?
Oh, absolutely! Robert Altman. It's a film of its time, but it's set when it's set. The gamble of the prostitute, they get together. It's just really, really, really a good film. It feels. How does it look?
So good. It looks so beautiful. It really does. It's just so beautiful. I mean, and I love it when they really get the film grain right in these 4Ks. Like, that's the thing. If the 4K makes me feel like I'm watching something that's projected, boom, mission accomplished. I mean, it is really a beautiful 4K, and it captures that kind of nasty, gritty, pre-Heaven's Gate, revisionist Western, pre-Unforgiven, revisionist Western sensibility, the Pacific Northwest, mining town. You really feel it. But I mean, it's the visuals. Vilmos Zsigmond shot it, eventually would win an Oscar for Close Encounters. Who's just one of the great cinematographers of all time. And it just has that Vilmos Zsigmond texture. And I can't get enough. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, fantastic, man.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Tons of great extras, by the way. Tons of great extras, including a conversation about the film and Altman's career with film historians Kari Beauchamp and Rick Jewell. I am so sorry to report, too, that Kari Beauchamp recently passed away.
Oh, I did not know that. No.
Yeah, she passed away. And also, who else passed away? The other film scholar. Oh, my gosh, film art, just today.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, gosh. Hold on. David Bordwell.
Oh, Willy.
David Bordwell died today. And Film Art, his book, Film Art, which he wrote with Kristen Thompson. That was one of my textbooks in film school, and I used some of his other stuff when I taught. I mean, David Bordwell is just such another horrible loss.
Yeah.
And our last Criterion 4K here is the Apu trilogy from Satyajit Ray, the great Indian director, the great Bengali filmmaker. His first trilogy, Padre Panchali was his coming out, and then Aparajito and Apu Sansar, the world of Apu. I always like to point out to people that the world of Apu is if you've seen My Family, Mi Familia,
Edward James Olmos and
yes, Edward James Olmos and Jimmy Smits and the rest of them. That is quite literally a remake of the world of Apu. without giving credit for it. It's extraordinary to me. There was a point I'm watching My Family, Mi Familia, and I'm like, this is the world of Apu. You just straight up ripped it off. Couldn't you at least have given him a nod? No, this is Apu, of course, is the boy, and he grows up, and it's a little bit like what Truffaut did. Beginning with the 400 blows, just follow the evolution of this one character, and it's just beautiful. I love Ray. He's not a Bollywood filmmaker. He's a Bengali filmmaker. His movies are very neorealist and poetic and beautiful, and the black and white cinematography is just
no songs, no dance routines,
no, they're lovely. And then our 3 Blu-rays here, starting with Mudbound by Reese. Yeah. Why aren't we getting more movies from Dee Reese? What is the she's the big deal. She was the big cheese, and she's just having such a hard time getting these movies made.
Yeah, it was a heck of a thing. Pariah, her first film back in 2007, was Cut Her Loose, and she made that really good TV movie with Queen Latifah, Bessie, and then Mudbound. And since then, I don't know, but this is a thing that can happen sometimes. It's not like she hasn't been working, but it's mostly been in television. But in terms of feature films,
I feel like there's someone who is just a complete filmmaker. She's got the full command of all the tools, the whole palette. So, I mean, if I've got money and I want somebody to make a movie, I'd go, Dee, what do you want to do? Tell me what you want to do.
She does have one episode of Masters of the Air, which is actually a fairly neat series.
That's right. She did do one of those. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, anyway, Mudbound is a really, really great movie. It's just absolutely terrific. It was made for Netflix. They have, thank goodness, allowed it to be put out on Blu-ray by Criterion. And I wish it had gotten a theatrical release, but I understand Netflix were the ones that were willing to put the money up, so there it is. Mm-hmm. But no, Dee is all over this thing, and this new documentary, and talking about the story, and this all kind of takes place in the 1940s in the Mississippi Delta. White landowners, black tenant farmers, and the entanglement that their relationship has under Jim Crow laws in the South. It's quite a portrait of America, of a snapshot of a moment in American history.
Well, that moment when young black men, Jason Mitchell in this film, who was really great and Straight Outta Compton, playing, I think he played Eazy-E, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, coming back from World War II with that uniform on, expecting a little respect, but running into so that is at the center of all of this. It's a hell of a thing.
And the Coen brothers, Blood Simple, great review. Should be on 4K. I don't know why it isn't, but here it is on Blu-ray from Criterion, 1984.
Man, yeah, I had cause to be talking about that today, or less, whenever we did the radio, that came up. And Blood Simple is from that, early Coen brothers, obviously, as early as you can get. But it was from that period when the Coen brothers movie were nastier, meaner. Than they were funny, and slowly over the years they switched places. Yeah. And then I'm like, by the time you get to the Big Lebowski, they're mostly funny, and it was a little bit of this is a nasty little movie, dude.
This is right there with Miller's Crossing as far as the intensity of their screenplays. Those two kind of stand apart. And Blood Simple is a hell of a movie. It's a noir. It's a straight up noir.
Not a comedy.
No comedy.
No comedy in it.
Barry Sonnenfeld shot it. He was their DP for their first few films and did a great job. And he's a big part of their success at this time too. They all three of them are involved in approving this transfer. So that should put your mind at ease. I just wish it were 4K, but it's just absolutely terrific movie. Wonderful screenplay, great performances, and what else can you say? And Emmett Walsh is just he's such a nasty noir detective. He's really great. And then from the Criterion adjacent sister line, Janus Contemporaries. These are the first run films that they're now releasing as well. Afire, the Christian Petzold film from last year, which this is one of those foreign language films that should be eligible for the Oscars, but it's not because it's not the official submission of the country. Yeah. But you know what? this should have been eligible.
Oh, yeah.
I know they're afraid that it'll just be nothing but like French, German, and Italian movies or something, and maybe an occasional Japanese film. But, look, you got to qualify more movies. They really do.
Yeah.
Because this is terrific. This is
it was really just an extraordinarily executed film with this.
It takes place in the Baltic Sea. Yeah.
And there is a fire that's relevant in the storyline.
Yes. But yeah, it's it's about a forest fire that's pushing closer and closer to our characters and their proceedings at this holiday getaway in the Baltic Sea. It's a very, very smart, well written film, and it won the Silver Bear at the Berlin Film Festival last year. And, it's worth checking out. Definitely give it a look. Give it a look-see. We got some steel books here, and then I'm gonna go through some Asian titles because it's been a while since we've really hit up the Welgo library. But we got some steel books here. I'll go through this really quickly. Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive from Vestron Video. Not a great movie, but it's
taken on a cult following in the last 40 years or so. Yeah.
My favorite story of Maximum Overdrive. Stephen King directed this. Yeah. And it's the only film he's ever directed. He has no idea how to direct a movie. No. And there's a story of Stephen King when he got the job to direct it. He put a call in to David Lynch to say, how do I direct a movie? and apparently, if I remember the story correctly, somebody had told him while they were shooting, you can't do that because you're crossing the line. And Stephen King said, what line? He had no idea. Idea. And then he puts the call into David Lynch, and Lynch, of course, tells him, that's stupid. Cross the line whenever you want. That's the story. And then we've got Lords of Dogtown with Emile Hirsch and Heath Ledger and John Robinson. Basically, it's the whole Dogtown story. The how the great skateboard group came together. It's a pretty terrific movie directed by Catherine Hardwicke.
Kicked off her career.
Yeah, it's very, very, very sharp. We got Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia, based on the video game. Dreadful movie. And also a cult following. That's a Steelbook. I
remember that was the film that when I saw Raul in the film.
Yeah,
it's
dying.
You knew.
I agree. I was like, oh, he's looking gaunt. He's got. It's like there's something wrong.
There's something going on there. Yeah.
And then also Rad, the off-road motocross bike movie directed.
Hal.
Hal Needham, the great Hal Needham. Produced by Jack Schwartzman, Jason Schwartzman's dad. So another kind of Coppola-adjacent film this week, also on Steelbook. And then John C. Reilly in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which continues to be, this is the Hardest Steel Ultimate Edition, which continues to be a movie that I know so many people who swear this is the funniest movie ever made. Now, I don't get it, but I'm amazed at how many people I know personally who think if I only had this, I don't need any other comedy as long as I live. Tim, what do you think that is?
I don't. I do not understand. Look, I've gone through this movie, and it's not that this movie. It's what I have to call bit funny.
Yeah,
there are these bits in them, but it's this. No, there are people who talk about this movie in juxtaposition to Spinal Tap, and I'm like, you're insane. Anyway. Well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a kind of a spoof of the whole Johnny Cash biopic deal. Yeah, I mean, written by Judd Apatow and Jake Kasdan, directed by Jake Kasdan, and I like both those guys. But I mean, I get it. Some people love this movie; they love it like crazy.
Well, it's funny because they're kind of biting mostly. This has less to do with what's going on in Spinal Tap than it does with what's going on in any given airplane, Naked Gun, that kind of stuff. It's more in line with that than it is Spinal Tap. So
I'm gonna roll through some Welgo movies here. Welgo has continued to put out not just a lot of great Asian stuff, and I'm going to get to that here soon too, but a lot of great kind of first run stuff. A lot of which makes its way into theaters, and it's all over the map. It's all kinds of, it's mostly kind of genre-y or genre-adjacent thrillers and things of that sort. But boy, they're really, really getting some sharp films and giving them really good releases on Blu-ray. And the first one here is A Creature Was Stirring, ... and it wasn't a mouse. No, this is sharp. This is one of those films that gets a little bit of a short shrift because it doesn't have any stars in it.
Yeah.
But these people raised money and they put this thing together. It is a really, really sharp movie. This is kind of I don't want to call it a hillbilly noir. That's sort of insulting in a way, but that's sort of what it is. I mean, this actress Chrissy Metz is amazing.
Yeah, who's in This Is Us, right? That's her. I think
Is she on This Is Us?
I think, yeah.
This Is Us.
Yeah. She's on This Is Us. She's the big gal on This Is Us.
The big gal. Yeah, she's big. She's great. She's a mom. She's named Faith, which is a bit of a giveaway here. But she's she's got this daughter, and the daughter is messed up, and we don't quite know why. And so she's got her daughter all drugged up, and next thing you know, it's Christmas. And in a weird twist on Home Alone, you got a couple of burglars who break into the house, and oh my goodness, it becomes Home Alone without a kid and without jokes and with lots of violence.
Yeah.
It's like Home Alone, the real version. Holy cow. Super, super good movie, though. Really just tight and well done and well put together. And then we got Jared Moshe's Aporia, Reality is a Continuum. Judy Greer is in this and does a fantastic job. She's basically the main... She's the closest thing to a star that they've got in this. I've always loved Judy Greer.
Oh my God! Yeah, Judy. I always played the girl next door, the girlfriend of the girl who's the lead. And every time I saw Judy Greer, I always thought to myself, she should be the lead of this movie.
Yeah, true.
But there you
totally
go.
True. Well, this is a really interesting kind of a weird genre movie. She's a widow. And it feels like a total straight up kind of, indie drama until it gets into this whole like time machine thing. And it's not a typical time travel movie. It's about a time machine that can bend time. It's not like time travel; it's time bending, and there's actual physics to this. And the way they describe it in the film, like one side of my brain is going, "That I'm not buying it," but the other side of my brain is going, "No, that could work." It was weird. It was weird, but really a smart screenplay. Jared Moshe wrote and directed it. Does a great job. Very, very sharp film. Aporia, super worth checking out. Movie called Mercy Road with Toby Jones and Luke Bracey. Kind of this is it's a crime film, and it's a person on the run movie. It's sort of hits most of the beats of that until you get to this really kind of weird psycho twist in this thing, and there's a series of strange phone calls, and it's a sharp script, and because it has a parent trying to save a child angle to the story. It goes in some directions that you don't expect it to go, and so I'm going to be a little bit circuitous here in describing anything further, but really, really interesting movie. Mercy Road, very interesting psychological thriller / crime film. We got a DVD, not a Blu-ray, but a DVD of Crocodile Island, Edge of the World. There's a reason why they didn't do this one on Blu-ray. It's not very good. It's a Chinese film that just kind of does what a lot of modern Chinese films do, which is try to imitate Hollywood blockbusters and do it in a really creepy way. And there's people who they crash land their plane in the Bermuda Triangle, and the island is filled with crocodiles, and they're Jurassic crocodile. But I guess there's a following for that kind of thing. Your Lucky Day. Did you ever see this? This thing I think got a theatrical release. Your Lucky Day with Angus Cloud and Sterling Bowman. Jason O'Mara.
It's a Dan Brown film, right? About the lottery ticket.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I saw this.
Guy gets it's about how don't buy lottery tickets if you don't want to fight with your friends and have everything go south. That's the message here. Because there's 156 million at stake, and the lottery ticket just kind of launches this whole fascinating rivalry and fight and hostage situation, and it's pretty intense. It's it's good. It's good. Haven't bought a lottery ticket since watching it. At least not one that I'm going to share with anybody. How many Mandalores are there? Is it just the two?
Oh my! Costas and Lewis. Oh my! I hope there are only those two, but yeah.
I always get them mixed up. I always get those two mixed up. This one is Louis Mandalore.
Yeah,
and Louis Mandalore, Cowboy Cerrone, and Quentin Jackson, otherwise known as Rampage Jackson.
Oh yeah,
3 days in Malay.
Rampage was a movie I wrote.
This is a World War II movie. This is all about the United States Marines fighting one of their famous battles in Malay during World War II during the Operation Watchtower event, and that's all it is. It's like a classic old John Wayne style heroic World War II battle movie. Guys facing impossible odds, holding down the outpost. Japanese, fighting the daylights out of them. And it's fine. Louis Mandalore directed this as well. Star in it. Yeah. And he's not bad. I mean, it's not like, he's not going to win an Oscar or anything, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Perfectly serviceable. Got, let's see, 5 more here. All of them really worth talking about.
Yeah.
Kill Shot. A little cheesy, but a very attractive cast, so I can forgive it. It all takes place in Montana, which nobody. Isn't it funny? Certain states are they just if a movie takes place in Florida, people are having a good time.
Yeah.
If a movie takes place in Montana, something's going wrong.
Yeah,
no one ever has a good time in Montana. Yeah. They get lost in the mountains. Some pedophile locks them in a cage or something. Things always go south in Montana.
It's going to involve long guns. I can promise you that.
Yes, it does. Well, anyway, Rib Hillis, I guess is the actor's name. Rib Hillis is on a hunting trip in Montana. Now, Rib Hillis is also both a wilderness guide and a former Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And you know that when you have those kinds of credentials, trouble follows you. And, of course, there's, they stumble across some money and there's a gang that wants the money and then everything goes south. But it's very well done. It's a good, solid thriller. You pretty much know everything that's going to happen, but that's okay. That's fine with some of these movies if the cast is attractive. Brandon Vera, who kind of wants to be Ving Rhames, he's like he's trying to steal Ving Rhames' look, stars in Day Zero, which is a zombie movie. And it's a reasonably serviceable zombie movie. We've had so many zombie movies that I think they all sort of blur together at a certain point. But he's kind of a Ving Rhames wannabe, and he's being chased by zombies at some point in the future when he's gotten out of prison and civilization has just succumbed to some horrible, horrible virus. And there it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a zombie.
He too is a former elite soldier. That always comes in handy. I'm a former soldier, but there's nothing elite about me.
Just once, I want all of this stuff to go down, and for the person in charge to be like a high school music teacher. Like oh crap, I don't know what to do. I teach band, man. I teach band. I've never touched a gun in my life. What am I supposed to do? Zombies are chasing me. Terrorists are chasing me. I don't know what to do. Like, I want to see the story with that guy.
Richard Dreyfuss from Mr. Holland's Opus.
There we go. That's right.
Let's throw it to him, see what goes down.
Oh, my goodness. We got an animated film here called Goodbye Monster, A Magical Adventure. Which is serviceable. This is all Chinese animation, and they cut corners like crazy and don't really have the know-how to do this right. But I guess if you like foreign animation and you like things that deal with the sort of the mystical aspect of Chinese mythology, you'll probably be able to get with it. But it's Goodbye Monster. It's all right. It's not amazing. Let's see. Last two, go titles. Warhorse 1 with Johnny Strong and Athena Derner. I know you don't know who Johnny Strong or Athena Derner are, but they're good actors. They are absolutely good. You know what? It's another SEAL team thing. They're all SEALs. They're all retired SEALs or former SEAls here. But no, this is sharp. This takes place right after the withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. And it's there's a SEAL helicopter that is shot down, and the last guy on it is kind of caught behind enemy lines and has to save this little Afghan girl. And there it is. That's the story, basically. It's an action thing. It's a little bit ridiculous, but it is very, very well done. And Johnny Strong, who who co-wrote and co-directed it and stars in it, is pretty. He's got some chops, So I hope this guy gets some other opportunities as well.
Yeah.
And then the last one here, you may have seen this because I'm pretty sure this got a theatrical release as well, is Bone Cold. And I love the tagline here. Sometimes we make our own demons.
That Billy Hansen movie, another Black Ops guy, another guy,
another one of these things.
I think those camouflage suits must be really inexpensive. So they buy a camouflage suit.
Yeah. This is about a couple of snipers who they're given bad intel, and then they wind up realizing that there's it's basically like Predator. It's almost a Predator kind of story, but they realize that there's something after them. Something's chasing them, and it doesn't have the budget of Predator, but it's got kind of a similar vibe, and it's well put together. I mean, somebody got a budget and they had some chops and they made things happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gosh, we got so many other things here that we've got. Oh, you know what? Here, we should make mention of this because Imprint is a wonderful line of classic titles from Australia, and we are really grateful because they release a lot of stuff that our companies, our labels don't get to. There's stuff, and these guys, they love movies. Imprint is a great label, and so we've got a relationship with Imprint, and they're like, yeah, we'll send you our stuff. You can buy it in the U.S. It's region free. Go for it. So I'm going to start with Lenny, freaking Lenny. Where is our amazing, collectible Criterion Blu-ray of Lenny? I don't know where it is, but Bob Fosse directing Dustin Hoffman in one of the great biopics of all time.
Yeah. Very
hard to do a classic stand-up comic and do him justice. And boy, I'll tell you, Dustin Hoffman nails it. He is Lenny Bruce. He is Lenny Bruce. And he completely inhabits the part. It's a terrific film. And the company, the umbrella company for the Imprint line, by the way, is Via Vision, but Imprint is the line, like their Criterion line, and it's absolutely terrific. Wonderful Blu-ray from Imprint. Look for it on Amazon or wherever you buy your Blu-rays. We also have Diamond Head with Charlton Heston, Yvette Mimieux, George Chakiris, Franz Nguyen, and James Darren. What a great all-star cast that is. From 1962, great year of Lawrence of Arabia and The Longest Day, and so many other great films. This one gets lost in the mix sometimes, but directed by Guy Green, based on a great novel by Peter Gilman. Really, really terrific movie. Screenplay by Marguerite Roberts. And I have to say, Franz Nguyen is still alive. She's a therapist now. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Still alive. She has a second career as a therapist, and one of the most beautiful women of all time.
Oh my God.
Not just great in this movie, but great when she kisses Captain Kirk.
I was going to say, what's the name of that episode? Yeah, Salon.
And absolutely terrific in the season premiere of season 2 of Charlie's Angels, Angels in Paradise.
Oh my gosh!
As the Hawaiian mobster's wife who kidnaps Charlie. and then she shows up in a bikini. She is in her 40s, and she rivals the Angels, who are all in their 20s.
Yeah.
Just going to say. And I love Franz Nguyen as a mom in the Joy Luck Club. I am.
Yes. Yeah. Well, she's Balance of the Planet of the Apes. Yes, great thing. All the way back to South Pacific. So, yes. I had no idea she was a therapist now. That's amazing.
Yeah, she steals this movie. And she and George Chakiris are both still alive.
Wow. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, George, of course. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Also from Imprint, The Man in Half Moon Street with Nils Asther and Helen Walker. A very cool, long-forgotten noir, totally rediscovered, 1945. It's like a noir science fiction thing. It's really terrific. And the premise is that you got a guy who discovers that as long as he does this surgery every 10 years, he can be immortal.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to find unwilling donors, though. Right?
Yeah.
So it's
gotta get those glands, baby.
A little Frankenstein, a little bit of film noir, and then you kind of throw in this great romantic twist, and it's a good movie. The Man in Half Moon Street. Really cool flick. And then lastly, Stephen Boyd, Michael Redgrave, Leo McKern in Assignment K, which is another one of those really cool, like 60s era spy things. It's pretty great. I mean, they're all kind of quasi James Bond adjacent, right? Everything's kind of stepping in the Bond in the Bond realm at this point, but it's really cool. It's like we were talking earlier, why isn't it ever a band leader? Okay, so this is a guy who runs a toy company, but he also happens to be the head of a British spy operation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite cut it, but anyway, no, he has to. It's a cool James Bond kind of.
Val Guest is speaking about the day the Earth caught fire. He wrote that, but he was also an uncredited writer. Speaking of Bond, on Casino Royale.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, he is uncredited.
Really?
On Casino Royale.
Oh, look at that.
So it makes total sense. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'd like to get through. Hang on. Because there are a lot of these one-offs that are worth mentioning. This is a really interesting thing. Let me just put a poke in for this from the National Film Board of Canada. Alanis, and I'm going to mutilate this, Obomsawin.
Okay.
This is really interesting. So three languages, by the way, on all parts of this: a legacy, and then they've got, like, when you go on the back and there's the summary. It's in three languages: in English and in French and in Cree, because this is as they say in Canada, First Nations. This is a First Nations thing. It's 21 films on 12 discs.
Oh wow!
All of them by Alanis Obomsawin, who's a First Nations female filmmaker in Canada, and most of these films have probably never been seen in the United States. But because they're really serious about trying to do right, not always successful, but they're very serious about trying to do right by an often abused population in Canada, which lives in some very, very remote places. Finding these filmmakers and doing right by them is very interesting. So this is a wonderful immersion in the world of a particular filmmaker, but a particular culture, a particular place, a particular people. And there's a lot here. I haven't watched all 21 films, watched about 10 of them, but it's all over the place. It's just wonderful. And hopefully, we get some more attention on this. And the National Film Board of Canada is doing some really great work, and this is part of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
All right. Let me see what else we've got here.
You want to do some news or some docs?
Let's do the docs. We got some docs here. Yeah, let's do the docs.
As you just mentioned, she's a Native American, and imagining the Indian.
Yeah.
I think I see on that list there.
Yeah. This is great. This is really interesting now because obviously the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl again. Did you see what Lily, our soon to be Best Actress Academy Award winner, what Lily Gladstone said about this? It was very interesting.
No,
she parsed a thing. She says, "I don't really have a problem with the title, the Chiefs. I think it's a perfectly fine name for a team. It's okay called the Chiefs. Just don't do the tomahawk chop."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was the chop in the stands that bothered her, not the name of the team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting. And anyway, you've seen the film. Go on.
Well, no, it's an interesting exploitation of that the Native Americans and their relationships with sports culture here in the United States. Many of the sports that we play here in the United States have their roots in Native American culture, but you wouldn't know that in the way that there's highlight and lacrosse and these other things. And of course, many extremely important sports figures have been Native American. Who we Jim Thorpe. Yeah. We go straight to Jim and we more or less stop there. So this is a fascinating exploration of all of those things with respect to the logos and the names of franchises and the actual human beings who brought us and invented and participated in some of these sports and without being recognized. They're very interesting stuff.
Very interesting stuff. It is fascinating. And what's interesting to me too is that, the Washington Redskins got, finally were forced to abandon their name. They're the Commanders now. And now there is another group, a Native American group, that is suing to have the name Redskins restored because they feel that they have now been erased from culture because it was a Native American artist who designed the logo and all this stuff. So it continues to be really. We're not going to be through this debate anytime soon. But yeah, it's a good doc. The Book of Harth, Harth, by Pierre Guillet, is a kind of a weird doc. Here's what it's about. This guy, David Greg Harth, Harth, it took for 20 years. He carried this Bible around to get it signed by famous people, and he goes to the most outrageous extremes to get this thing signed. And this doc was shot during the last year of that quest, so it's not like this has been 20 years in the making. This is just the last year of him trying to get that Bible signed and going, finding his way to wherever and through whatever appearance and red carpet and celebrity whatever. And the people that he is able to get signatures from. And the thing is, I mean, as entertaining as this is, there doesn't appear to be any rhyme or reason to it. It's like, Noam Chomsky's in town? That's good.
Yeah.
Noam.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith? I'll go get Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Why would you wait? I mean, Kevin Smith and Noam Chomsky? Like, what's I don't know. Is there a through line, or are you just going for anybody who has
look, John Waters, Paul Schrader, a theme. No, don't see a theme, but whatever, dude.
Through line. But it's quite a thing to watch. And then last one, a dance doc called Rookies, which is about a Parisian high school that is basically, it's not one of those New York arts. It's not like Fame. But it's what it's doing is it's taking a bunch of hip hop dancers from the surrounding kind of immigrant areas in Paris, which are really tough neighborhoods, and it brings them into this kind of arts program in this school, and this is follows them over the course of a full year. And how they are able to sort of balance the dance aspect of their curriculum with the academics, and it's a really I'm very close to these kinds of, because I've lived in some pretty tough places in France, and so I know these immigrant neighborhoods, and I know these kids. I know I've been around these kids. I've been in the homes of these kids, and so it's a very, very interesting look at what sometimes feels too much like a dead end life, and it can be really tough if you're part of that population in Paris. But yet there's hope through between the lines, and it's very, very nice, and it's really well done. It's done by the same filmmakers who made the Reset documentary, which is all about Benjamin Millepied, the choreographer, isn't it Millepied? Isn't he married to Natalie Portman now?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, or maybe are they getting divorced? I think they're getting divorced. I can't keep up with Hollywood people. Anyway, this is from Icarus Home Video. It's a good doc. It is called Rookies. I got some Chinese, Hong Kongy, Asian stuff. It's sort of all over the map here. So let me burn through as many of these as I can in the little bit of time we have left. Jackie Chan in a movie by Larry Yang called Ride On. I've interviewed Jackie a number of times. I revered his career right up until the Rush Hour films. Man, he kept saying, I'm just going to give it up at a certain point and direct, and I'll find the next Jackie Chan. But he's not doing that, and I wish I really wish he would. He's a washed up stuntman here.
That part I like because he's playing with that here. Yeah,
and some debt collectors repossess his favorite stunt horse. And that is supposed to be the beginning of a really kind of funny Jackie Chan comedy. Yeah. It's not funny, though. And I'll leave it at that. Unfortunate. It doesn't work for me. Got a Japanese film here, Bad City. It's a newish Yakuza movie. This is from Wellgo. I like it. It's a totally overdone genre, but no, I like this. It has a John Wick kind of vibe to it. It's almost as if some of the Japanese filmmakers saw John Wick and thought, well, we invented that genre. We can do that better. So they go for it. But it's more plotty. It's really, there's a really interesting, kind of Yakuza versus Korean organized crime thing going on. And anyway, I think this is a sharp film. I really enjoyed it. I thought it's very, very cool. Eye for an Eye, not the Chuck Norris movie.
No.
Oh, by the way, have you watched Shogun, the new Shogun? Have you seen any episodes?
I just started. Of course, I'm a big fan of the James Clavell 1980, whatever it was, adaptation with Richard Chamberlain and whatnot. Yeah. But I have not cracked open the new one yet. I'm told the perspective is reversed, of course, and we're telling the story from the perspective of the Japanese.
Yeah. I David Weishart watched the first two episodes, said it's amazing. So I'm gonna be all over that tonight. I'm gonna do that as soon as we're done here. I'm gonna go in and jump in those. I'm recording it, so I've got it's like first two episodes are it's gonna be about a 3-hour epic. So I'm gonna I'm gonna sit down and get myself some snacks and just enjoy that until the wee hours of the morning. This movie is Eye for an Eye, The Blind Swordsman. There's a Chuck Norris movie called Eye for an Eye, not this one. I like the Chuck Norris Eye for an Eye quite a lot. Professor Tanaka is in it. Has one of my favorite lines in all of moviedom where I shouldn't even do this on the show, but Professor Tanaka, who's wearing like Herman Munster shoes in that thing, at a certain point, he looks at Chuck Norris. I won't tell you what precedes this. You can kind of use your imagination. And Professor Tanaka, just so everybody knows, who started as a wrestler, he fights in movies. He's terrific, but he almost never has dialogue because it doesn't come off well. And in this, he looks at Chuck Norris and he goes, your woman was very good. And that's the line. And then Chuck proceeds to just do a slow motion flying kick and wipe him up. But that would never happen. Tanaka would snap Chuck Norris in two. With one hand and like a twig. Anyway, this is more like the Blind Swordsman of the old Shaw Brothers films. And done, modern style. But it's this is very, very sharp. It's nicely put together. There's a great there's a kind of a great pseudo noir angle to it, which involves kind of a medieval bounty hunter and it's a good script. It's a good script. Eye for an Eye. This was originally aired on the Hi-Ya channel. It's a Hi-Ya original.
Yeah.
Eye for an Eye, The Blind Swordsman. Let me pull a couple more out of here. Let's see. All right, here, I'll do these. Creepy Crawly, Unmask the Monster. This is a this is Thai. That's right. I wasn't sure if this was Vietnamese or Thai. This is a Thai monster movie, and it's pretty well done. It's scary as hell. The ghost stories from Thailand always really creep me out. I've seen a few of them, and this one really is just creepy. So it makes you not want to go to Thailand on a vacation. I'll be honest with that, because it takes place at a hotel where the guests just start disappearing. And apparently there's a monster in the hotel. Great. Let's book our next vacation to Bangkok. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then The Flying Swordsman, which is only on DVD, not on Blu-ray, is a wonderful kind of wuxia film. It's in Mandarin, so it's a mainland film. It's not a Hong Kong film, but it has Hong Kong wuxia sensibilities to it. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. It's it's sort of a Western in a way. There's a hidden fortune, a kind of treasure of the Sierra Madre thing that's going on, and people looking for it, and roving assassins and whatnot. I mean, a spaghetti Western or traditional Western, it has that kind of a vibe, but it's done wuxia style. Yeah. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. The Flying Swordsman, Out for Revenge. Some great action staging. And then I'll just do these last three here, and then we'll close out the show. Oh, no, I'm going to do this one too.
Yeah.
I got it's too much good stuff, right? Too much good stuff. Hold on. All right. Here we go. So The Moon is a Korean film by Kim Yong-hwa. And Korean films, of course, getting much more attention here. This is this almost sounds hilarious, but it's not. It's really good. Visual effects are terrific. So bear with me here, because I'm going to actually read the synopsis. Try not to laugh. I know you're going to laugh, and so you're going to laugh. 7 years after Korea's first fully manned mission to the moon ends in disaster, a second human space flight is launched successfully until a strong solar wind causes the spacecraft to malfunction. With an astronaut left stranded in space and quickly running out of oxygen, the Naro Space Center turns to its former managing director to avert yet another fatal catastrophe. Now, the whole premise of there being these multiple Korean manned expeditions to the moon is truly ridiculous in that phrasing. I wish they'd have gotten somebody else to write this. It's very credible, the way that this takes place, but the staging of it, the special effects, the action is terrific.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrific.
It's all set 30 years in the future, and look, we did the thing on Mars. The thing with Mars with Matt Damon, where we left the Martian, and we had to go back and get him. So
but the thing is, look, not to be rude or anything, but Korea is never going to land on the moon. They got other problems. They're too fixated on boy bands and girl bands.
Yeah, boy bands, girl bands, and North Korea.
Yes, in North Korea. And keep doing that, because let me tell you something. I went to the premiere of Madam Web. I also have been writing about Madam Web for weeks now. One of my Substacks at Hollywood Heretic is also about Madam Web. But I went to the premiere. I don't think I told you this, did I? So I go to the premiere at the Village, which is now owned by Jason.
Oh, yeah.
In Hollywood. Yeah. And so I go to the premiere. And I come out, and I'm like, this is the worst, most horrible thing I've ever seen. I'm going to go to my car. And I'm getting ready to walk to my car, and I hear people on the opposite side of the street in front of the Bruin Theater screaming. Oh, my gosh, they're behind the ropes, and the guards are holding them back. They're screaming. And I'm like, okay, is it that Sweeney girl? Like, there's nobody in this movie. You should be screaming. Oh, there we go. Korean boy band.
Oh, yeah.
Korean boy band invited to the screening, getting more attention than anybody actually in Madam Web. So the Korean boy band walks across the street, starts signing autographs.
Oh, well, sweet boys. But yeah, better than the movie.
So much better than the movie. Absolutely unbelievable. So here, this is the last one that I'll make quick mention of Wolfpack, Max Zhang and Arif Lee. So just a little bit to preface this, the one thing the Chinese are doing is making super, super jingoistic, nationalistic films that are all about how China is going to just kick the United States' ass and conquer the world and, rah-rah China. Because they're trying to do the John Wayne thing, right? They're trying to do the whole thing that we perfected. It doesn't work very well, I'll be honest. But they claim that these movies make a ton of money. Anyway, Wolfpack is one of those. And it's a guy's trying to solve the mystery of his father's death, and there's a group of mercenaries, and there's a whole international conspiracy against China, blah blah blah. None of it really makes any sense. It's not well written. The action is ridiculous. It's like Michael Bay unleashed without any discipline, and that like less discipline than he already uses. But anyway, but somehow in all of its excess, if you can get past the total propaganda nature of it, it's kind of entertaining.
Well, they're well made. It's not like they don't have the resources or the capability or the expertise to make high energy, fast paced, big action films with big special effects. They can do that, and they can execute the hell out of all of that narratively. Look, they're telling the stories they're telling. I'm not going to get in their faces about it because we do it too.
Yes, precisely. Exactly so. Very much so. All right. Well, that does it for today. For this show, we are done here. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back shortly, and hopefully, again, tune into my Substack and read some of my stuff at hollywoodheretic.substack.com. Sign up for be a free subscriber or a paid subscriber, whatever you want. And then hopefully we'll have we've been working on some stuff. We'll have announcements coming up soon, won't we, Tim?
Oh yeah. Some interesting stuff. Me, you, Mark, and some interesting people to talk to too. So all of this stuff is going to kind of come together. You'll be able to find it in all of these very interesting different places. Great.
We will have that news hopefully soon. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll have a great Academy Award week. We'll be back after that with our thoughts, obviously, on the winners, the losers, and what it all means.
Yeah, we'll tell you what we think of Oppenheimer. After it wins its 20 hours, it is ridiculous. There you go.
All right. Bye, everybody.